So even while I was recording Damsels, I was already trying to come up with what my next film would be. And I had kind of thrown around this idea of like nature and like slowing things down. I also really wanted to focus on human emotion and telling a story that way, and really diving into who characters are and what they're all about. And so I came up with a whole bunch of ideas. I probably wrote or started writing 3 or 4 different scripts, and just nothing was taking. I had concepts, I had high-minded ideas, but I didn't have a story to carry that. And so early January, I was chatting with my wife, and she said something. I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's it. There's the story." And suddenly, I had this world and this concept and this idea that I was really excited about. And so I punched through my very first draft of the script. And I was like, "This is awesome!" And I sent it to Jonathan, and Jonathan looked at it, and he's like, yeah, "Okay, there's potential there, but we got to start working on this."
First thing I do is I just read it. I try to read it as blankly as possible. From that point, it's a matter of, okay, what worked for me? What do I see here? What is this right now? Then I go and I talk to Luke and I say, okay, what do you want this to be? What do you think this is? What are you looking for? And I compare and contrast. What did I find that worked? What did I find that didn't work? And what supports his idea? And what I say, oh, that's what you were trying to do. Or that, yes, I did get that. That came across. And I kind of note that in my head. You can note it on the script, whatever. And from that point on, it's a process of essentially doing that over and over and over again.
Jonathan has really helped by saying, okay, this element, you really don't want to start your movie here. And then I'd try and write a new beginning, and he'd say, you don't really want to start your movie here either. So trying to figure out, where do I actually want to start, and what is the best way to share the maximum amount of information about this world that I'm building in a very short period of time. And so that's really the challenge that I'm struggling with right now.
The hard part of the process is that even though I may say that, and Luke may agree, and we go through another draft and have a lot of changes and go to the next iteration, it does not mean that that issue's actually been fixed, or that what we want to have come across actually comes across. It just means we might have gotten closer.
And so here we are over a month later, and I'm now starting on draft number 5.
Which, to be honest, is actually about right. There's a lot of need for any script, any story to go through many iterations. And so the fact that we're actually taking this amount of time this early to go through the script and try to just hammer it and make it into something good is important.
One of the challenges with this script is that while I was writing, I knew that I wanted to get to the actual like meat of the story, but in order to do so, I had to establish a lot of the world and people's relationships and things like that. And that was taking a long time.
How do you convey all this information really well and emotionally without wasting all of our time sitting around and talking?
I kind of jumped from like this moment where like these characters meet each other to where they are today. And Jonathan was like, I can't follow you on that. I was like, right, but this script is already like almost 30 pages long. I don't want to spend more time.
So how do we get there faster? How do we make this happen? And we thought about it. Genre conventions, cliches. Those are actually assets.
I actually ended up just kind of starting out with a mind map, and just kind of writing down all these different ideas about the world and what things were there and what was the motivation and who were the characters and all that. And by doing so, I actually got a much clearer picture of what I was going for.
Luke always has something he's trying to get to, and it's usually personal, and there's always a scene or something about the script that's got that's good. And there's all these other parts that are like, he knows he needs them, but they've got to be beefed up. They've got to be a lot better. They've got to be a lot more connected, because otherwise the audience can't get to the place he wants to go.
And so with draft 2, I not only tried to beef that up and make that a little bit clearer within the script itself, but I also started writing some backgrounds and some biographies of the characters and who they were and what they were all about.
There's something there, but how do you get there? How do you connect it all together? How do you really make it be this roller coaster, this ride, this experience? That's hard. That's the weaker part.
The more we talk about the story, the clearer it is what themes we need to draw out. I know that in version 3, there was this major breakthrough for me where I was like, oh my goodness, this character's fear and the thing that really drives them nuts is like exactly what's going on over here. And so it was this really cool connection to be able to see things coming together. But that took some time and just very concerted effort of figuring out who the characters are, what they want, and why they want it.
can I see this movie play out in my head and say, yes, that's something good. That's something worth making. I want to do that. And then it becomes after that's the question of, can we actually do that? I don't know. But I gotta at least see it. And I see glimpses of it, but I don't see it yet. That's what I'm looking forward to next. That's the next really big milestone.
By the way, I've at most written two, maybe three-ish drafts of a script, and the third draft is really like, okay, I'm going to change a couple lines, and then we're going to move on. So now that I'm staring down at script version 5, it's overwhelming. I just every time I have to write a new script and a new draft, I'm like, it was so good before. When is this thing going to be done? And having been in script development for over a month now and trying to like chomping at the bit to get going on making this movie, knowing that I need to get casting done, I need to get all this other stuff done and costumes and all this. But in order to do all that, I need to know what the story actually is. And so I'm feeling very overwhelmed at the moment with the process of writing the story, and that has me kind of feeling kind of down about this whole project. And it's been hard.
The more I read the script, the more I talk with Luke, the more I talk with everybody and think about it and let it digest a little bit, the more I kind of understand what it is, what this idea is, what we're trying to do, what's working, what's not working. It becomes a bit more clear to me. At the same time, there are levels where you've gone through a few iterations and a lot of the scenes might be the same still, and you're just changing small things, and you read it like I did recently. I read the script in its fourth iteration, and I was like, I've been saying things to change, and we've been changing things and looking at it, and it's just not working. Like, I really, it's too long. I don't like it. I don't feel like it's going anywhere. Like, do I really want to invest my time on this project when it's like this?
I like what I write, and I tend to just write it in one draft. And so for someone to come along and say, yeah, this isn't it, you need to start over, or you need to go back, you need to revisit this, and you need to work this scene again and again and again, it really is a blow to my ego, and it makes me not want to keep going. It's like, come on, it was so good enough.
You can be brutal with the person's script, and that can be wanted, desired, and helpful, but how you talk about it, how you go through that process is huge. And I'm a little timid sometimes where I'm like, even though I know Luke and we've done this a few times together, I'm like, do I really want to come and rehash this, or do I really want to like rip this whole thing out and tell him your beginning sucks?
That's just devastating. It's devastating to not feel like I have a story yet, but to try and bring people onto this project and get people excited, and to still be struggling with a script. That's really hard. Not a fan of that. Not liking it.
Everything's changing and nothing's changing. Why does it not feel any better? That's the hard part. It doesn't feel any better.
So, a month in of writing, and starting draft number 5, and I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. That's, I think, where we are right now with this particular aspect of this production.